Pusick with the SharePoint Embedded Product Group. Today we are going to learn how to build AI apps with the SharePoint Embedded Agent that's available in GitHub. Using the SharePoint Embedded Agent from GitHub, you have the ability to integrate that AI functionality within your documents and custom application that you're creating. The platform gives you the capability to have that native AI experience as documents are ingested into your application and the containers that are SharePoint embedded. You have that full collaboration experience. If users want to edit documents in Office, there's that one-click collaboration that allows you to fire the Office collaboration environment, allowing people to co-author, version control, view comments, and so forth. All of that with the security that you have in the M365 environment. So any security groups that you have, any users that are secured to that document, any sensitivity labels that have been applied to that document are going to be honored throughout that entire experience. Let's take a look at what happens under the hood when that document is ingested into the SharePoint embedded environment. Through your custom application, you're going to create the functionality that allows users to upload documents and store them in SharePoint Embedded. When they are in the SharePoint Embedded environment, that's where the containers that documents are stored are used as the grounding mechanism for that chat experience. Once they are stored in those containers, which is an isolated portion of the SharePoint index, they are automatically consumed into the semantic index where the large language models have that grounding they need to reason over your documents. Once the user is ready to reason over those documents through that SharePoint embedded agent, they're going to provide the prompts that they want to use on top of the documents that are going to be reasoned over. That prompt is going to be interpreted by that large language model. That large language model, again, is going to have context to your SharePoint embedded application and the container that you specify in your application. This is where the user is going to have the security context, the documents that pertain to that prompt that the large language model is using to ground that document, and the returning back of the information to your application in real time. They'll have a conversation much like they do with any Copilot agent today. All of that is going to be embedded within your application. You have control of the appearance and the functionality that is in that application. Again, we have all the ingredients that we need to deliver that experience to you through a simple React component that we have available in GitHub. That LLM connection is going to be connected to those containers that you have in your application. Once documents are added into those containers, they're automatically consumed by the semantic index. That's where the LLM orchestrator is going to take those prompts the users are sending you for reasoning over the content. And the user experience is, again, that React application that you have the ability to put into your application and interact with the users and documents accordingly. Here's a sample of a component that we have in an application. You'll notice that the user simply clicks on a button that presents the agent to them in the screen. This is where, again, they have the ability to use pre-configured prompts that you have configured through your application, or simply adding a question or a prompt in the chat window. That's when the LLMs will reason over those documents and present back the content to the user. Again, all based on the security parameters that you have in your documents and any sensitivity labels that is attached to that document as well. But let's see how that looks in real life. I'm going to go back to my application. And in this case, I have a application that I've configured to manage projects internally and externally. As I look at my project list, this is simply a list of containers that I have created to represent the projects that I want to be able to manage. And we're going to focus on this status reports folder because that's where I want to be able to use that Copilot agent in my application to reason over, in this case, my status reports that I'm going to focus on. Simply selecting that Copilot agent button, it's going to display that React component in my application. This is where I have the ability to ask it certain questions. So I'm going to say show me all the tasks in the status reports. So this is a very generic task that I'm going to target for those status reports. And it's going to go through reason over all of the documents in this container. So you'll notice I've got context to every document in the container. But because I'm crafting my prompt to focus on the status reports, you'll notice that now I have tasks that are extracted automatically from those documents. So we can take this one step further and do a little formatting because the bulleting is a little hard to read sometimes. Format this into a table with the task name, assigned to, and due date. And we're going to let that go and reason over that prompt again. In this case, I'm going to get an easy to read list of what the tasks names are, who it's assigned to, and the due date, all being extracted from those status reports. If I add new documents into the status reports folder, if I modify a document that's in there, again, that automatically gets picked up by the semantic index, and I'm reasoning over that using that LLM capability that you have in the platform already. So let's take one step further, and we're going to go a little deeper into how that is configured within your application. If you go to aka.ms/SPE samples, you'll have full instructions on how to install the component into your application and make the available objects available in the application itself. I'm focusing on two components within my custom application, the desktop view, which is inheriting the component that we have recently installed. When I do that, I need to make sure that we have the control of the application so I can determine if it's going to open in a new dialog, if I want to prompt it, things like that. But where I want to focus is a little bit down here because this is where I'm providing the information to that component so that it can load properly. I'm checking for any authentication, which we'll get to in a second. And then we're just simply handling that in the window itself. Okay. So in addition to having that exposed within the application, I'm also going to go to this Copilot chat container. And this is where, again, I'm going to use the component that you've installed that provides all of the core functionality. But in this case, I also want to make sure that we're having context to the user itself. And when you initially log into your application, there's going to be an authentication provider that you're going to prompt the user for their credentials or pass them in if it is a single sign-on scenario. But we're going to take that authentication provider and use that as context so that when we are interacting with that user, we have the ability to use that same token. If the token is expired for whatever reason, then we'll go back, we'll get a new token and prompt the user for that authentication context. But this allows us to render the component as we need to. If we look at the creation of the theme, this is where we have the ability to theme it according to how our application looks, so it blends in nicely with the look and feel of your application. And then lastly, we're going to display that to the user. There's a number of parameters here that you can use to display that. Do you want it to be set to open? Do you want to provide a specific auth provider? So this is the authentication provider, the token that we have previously retrieved that we can use to authenticate that user and reason over accordingly. And then, of course, the theme itself. So that's where you have the ability to theme it as you need to from there. So once that is compiled and in your application, that will display the component on, in my case, the right-hand side of the page and provide that interactive experience. Any documents that you do add to the container in this case, again, they're going to be picked up by that semantic index. The agent is then going to be able to reason over them because it's in an isolated form. It's in that container that I specify. If you wanted to determine that I want to reason over all of the containers that are in that application, you certainly can do that. Programmatically, you have the ability to set that context as the user is interacting with it. Again, go ahead and review the documentation and download the component from aka.ms/SBE samples. and start incorporating that into your application today.